family advocate, and I run a nonprofit organization called Families United for Self-Empowerment. We work with families and children. We provide support services. We advocate on behalf of families and children. I have done stuff locally, state, federally, advocate on behalf of families and children, and yeah, that's it about me.
That's a whole lot.
I don't think so, but sure.
That's a whole lot. Like again, I would like to say thank you for coming through.
Yeah.
I was thinking I was gonna bring you down the road, but hey, now anytime is good, you know. So I was planning for somewhere down the road. I wasn't planning out.
Well, as long as you're not giving me a script I have to remember, we're good.
Well, you know, if we're gonna do the movie, you have to actually.
You just have to create a big billboard for me to hold, and I have to read out loud of it.
Oh, we go. That'll be in the budget. So I don't know where to start, but I'll start like from the last time. You know how you were running for the city council.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what was your experience, and what would you say like the things that you learned that maybe next time you run that you could do different than this time?
You know, so I had run for a school board before too. I ran for a school board in 2020 when COVID happened.
Yeah.
So there was no campaign, there was no door knocking, there was nothing like that because of COVID. And so it was a really interesting experience. But when I ran for city commission, that one was also a really great experience because I learned the government side, right?
Okay.
And how things run in government and stuff like that. Which some of the things worked a little bit in my benefit because, you know, from being an advocate, some of the things I have done in my advocacy work.
Yeah.
So it's kind of some of those things, questions and debates, some of those things kind of come to me kind of like, oh, you know what I mean?
It's so natural.
It's kind of natural, you know what I mean? Still, you have to understand, because there is a difference between the city government, you know, how the city run things and how you run things, and you know what I mean,
Yep.
with the state. But just being an advocate and being on different boards within, you know what I mean, on a state level and things like that, it really, I think it worked in my, I don't say so much in my advantage, but it gave me more knowledge. You know what I mean? I learned a lot more about the city stuff and things like that. And, you know, and sometimes there's things I was like, I just wish we can change this and change this. But there's a lot, you know what I mean? There's a way. You know, one of the biggest topics through the campaign was special assessment. If you notice, people were going after a special assessment. And everybody thinking, if I just go in and I campaign and I say I'm going to get rid of a special assessment, people are going to elect me.
Yeah.
But it's very complex. You know what I mean? It's very complex. Manufacture, look at our infrastructure. Where do you think some of those money are coming from, right?
Yeah.
Special assessment dollar, right? So, and that's something, there's so many group of advocates have been working on. Bismarck, there's a group in Bismarck that I have known for a while.
Yeah.
They have been trying to work in getting rid of a special assessment. And there's a group also been working, trying to get rid of what's called the TIF, right?
Yeah.
That's a tax increment, which a lot of people don't even know.
Nope, I didn't. I heard it just during the campaign. Like I didn't even know what it was.
It you know, it's those kind of things that some people don't really know it's even exists and is even there.
Yeah.
There's different type of incentive within our city.
Yeah.
So there's main one was, you know, to me was getting rid of TIF, right?
Okay.
That was one of my things, because when you see those TIF district, it's like, we need to get rid of it, right? But I knew that was going to work against me, because there's some people who live in those district, they have a deep pocket, right? And so you have somebody like me coming in like advocate, I'm going to take that away from you. Of course, I'm not going to be liked, right? And so there was some debates that I will not go to.
Okay.
It's pretty much because I didn't feel like I want to go for a debate that is held private and not open to the entire public.
Okay, so
You know
what you're
what I mean?
saying there, nobody will know it, and they could control how things comes up.
Well, not only that, but the thing is, so then they can, you know, decide, oh, you know what, we're gonna sponsor you, right?
Yeah.
And then guess what? They sponsor you. Well, guess what they're gonna do? Endorse you, not sponsor you, but
Yeah.
endorse you.
Yeah.
They give you the money,
Yeah.
and you have money now to run against the people that think it's gonna work against them if they win.
Yeah.
And I was just, I'm not working for anybody. You know, I don't want your money. I don't care. But this is what I'm gonna say. And so that kind of worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which.
So it's more like an independent kind of like, you know, instead of Republican, Democrat, it's kind of independent.
Yeah,
What
it's
about
a non-bipartisan kind of, you know what I mean, when you're running for office, right? And
Yeah.
so, but That's what they say. It's never. That's what they say. But when you look at it, reality, trust me, it's it's a politics, and it's just there's so much in it, and so I learned a lot, like who really run our city, right? There's people who really run our city.
Oh, yeah.
Some businesses. I had somebody cornered me in the bathroom because I refused to go to one of the events,
Oh wow.
and they endorsed somebody else.
'Cause you
And they wanted me there.
Yep.
And I refused to go, and I even refused to respond to some of their questions. And I was in the bathroom in another event, we were supposed to have it. The person came in and was like, "You're Victoria Johnson, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, who are you?" You know what I mean? I was like, "Yeah, who are you?" Right? And so my friend was in the bathroom. He's like, "Are you okay?" Because the person started going off, and my friend's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, I'm good."
Yeah.
And I just left because I was like, "I'm not gonna sit there and explain to you why I didn't come because it's like I have a choice.
That's
I don't
true.
have to show up because I was not going to take money from anybody else. Because once these people give you money
Oh yeah.
and you
You're
get
under
elected,
You're under control.
you're under control."
Yep.
And I don't want to be controlled because I wanted to run and serve the people and not.
Actually, not to cut you off, I'm gonna switch it. Like I was like off camera. I was speaking to somebody, and I was telling them as far as what's it called, like the part of owning business and whatnot, that comes to our community in a sense. I look at it like in our community. You know how you say like they want to sponsor you, and then once they sponsor you, endorse you, they're gonna have control, like say of what they want. And the reason I look at like our community, the reason we're so far behind and so far like all over the place, because we don't have that structure of like, okay, we are one, and then how can we, like, remember when I was trying to do the panel where I was inviting all that, because that was the whole idea, was to give the community the idea, like, okay, you could have those people, candidates, and then we see who we want that actually is going to support our belief, and then that's who we push to win. And then if they win, obviously we have our say of what we want, but we don't. Like that's the problem.
Yeah.
What would you say? How can we change that for the future? Because it's like we have people that could do a lot of things, but I feel like
I think we need to really activate our New American community and our, what I mean, that they know that they need to go out and vote, right? They need to go out and vote. And they also have to ask themselves, like, because we do have a lot of New American businesses. We have businesses, we have nonprofit, we have homeowners. So the same issues that's going to affect a white person is going to affect you as a homeowner, right? It's going to, because that's not just an issue for one area. It's going to affect you. They need to show up in those debates. They need to show up and look at the candidates and introduce themselves and be able to say, is this person going to actually win and have the interest of the community and the people, or are they going to win and have the interest of just the 5% wealthy, rich, you know what I mean? And that's where it is. And so they have to be involved and educate. And I think education is a very powerful thing.
That's true.
If you have that knowledge and education, you're going to position yourself in where you're going to ask yourself a question and you're going to do your research on all the candidates.
Correct.
But there are some people that really do not do the research or they just go by name recognition. And that's one thing in this state is name recognition is powerful.
Oh yeah.
You have a name recognition. I knew I was not going to win for the city commission because I was running against two most powerful name recognition in our city. Two.
Yeah.
And so when those two names are up there, I knew I wasn't going to win, but I was going to debate, and make sure people hear my voice.
Correct,
and I'm going to say,
but here's the thing, the next time you come through, now you're there. Your name is going to be recognized because it's like.
Yeah, but when you're an advocate, you create friends and you also create enemies.
Oh yeah.
So that's the thing. You create friends and you also create enemies.
Yeah.
And with me, I think if you ever seen when I first came out that I was running, the media, the first thing they decided to do is splash my name on the media and say, Victoria Johnson, she advocated for, Senate bill this, and if this was a pass, it was gonna affect you this way, right?
Yeah.
So they knew they had to go after me and put something like that because they did not do my press release. They decided to run with a story that they needed to make sure that it would really give me that, not because my name was, people know my name, right?
Correct.
And so they had to put something out there that is going to scare people. And so if I put something about you out there and like, remember Johnny, something you've done, remember Johnny did this, and Johnny's running for office. What is anybody gonna do? They're gonna be like, ooh, they're gonna be like, I don't want you there. You're gonna change rules? Are you gonna make laws? You know what I mean?
No.
People create that fear, and that's what media did.
Yeah.
It's tried to create that fear.
Yeah.
I knew that was gonna come,
Yeah.
but I didn't let that hold me back, because I knew what I was doing was I was advocating for what I really truly believe in, and that's equal access of education for all children, regardless of your background, regardless of your disability, regardless of if you're black, white, you're poor, rich, doesn't matter. Every child deserves an equal access to education. And so with that, I did not care. So I would go back and testify if I have to, you know what I mean? That was not gonna shut me away from that advocacy world. I didn't care, and I knew this was gonna come, so it didn't really bother me.
Well, I was proud of you, by the way.
Thank you.
Because the things I was like watching that, it was like, oh. I thought about running someday. I don't know. I'm scratching my head. Not on your level. Someday I'll run.
You have to take a chance, because I say you're gonna learn the experience, right? When you run, you're gonna learn, because then you're gonna be like, what can I do different, right? But if you just say, well, I'm gonna wait, you're never gonna do it, because you're never gonna know.
Well,
so throwing your name in the bucket.
Well, I wanted to throw for the president, because now I feel like
I believe you have to be born here in order for you to run for the president.
Man, this way is the
Unless you want to go run for Sudanese.
Oh, no. Let's leave that one out of that.
You can run for governor.
No, yeah, definitely.
Or the mayor.
Yeah, I'll run. If I'm gonna run big.
Okay. But guess what? You need to start putting your name out there.
Yeah, sooner. Not right now. I still gotta establish myself. You know how this thing is.
Oh, okay.
Like, how, actually speaking of that, what got you into doing the nonprofit? Like, because when you start like your nonprofit organization, like what was the motivation, or what
leads me to that?
What got you to it that you decided like, you know what, I want to do this and start to advocate for families?
So what really led me to that is I have a son who's autistic.
Okay.
So my son is my youngest son, he's autistic, and he had a lot of struggles in school and the lack of services and the lack of support that he was receiving. And so an incident happened at school, and that incident led me to filing a federal complaint against the school for violating his rights under federal law, right?
Okay.
So when I filed that, so there's two parts, right? There's what's called the IDEA, right?
Okay.
And that's, you can file that complaint and it goes through the DPI, Department of Public Infrastructure, right?
Okay.
And it's investigated. And then there's also another part that you don't have to, but you can. It's also Office of Civil Rights. It's called the OCR, right?
Okay.
So what I did is I filed both. I filed with the Federal Office of Civil Rights, and our closest one is in Chicago, because we don't have one here in North Dakota. So I filed one under that. But when you file that, you have to make sure you have what's called the burden of proof, right?
That's true.
That this really happened, right? And you have to make sure, and I'm going to tell you, going through a federal interview to explain your claim and all this, it's intense. I mean, there was times where I have migraine headaches, right? Just getting off the phone from them.
I could imagine.
And so I had to do both. And so what I did is I won my claim, right? I won, pointing out that they did violate my son's rights.
Okay.
And so when I won through the DPI, which is also federal investigation, I won that one. And then I filed the Office of Civil Rights. And then I ended up coming out with my story publicly of what happened to my kid. Because I realized that this was not only happening to Black kids or just me, it was happening to white kids. It was happening to Native Americans. It was happening to a lot of kids. So this was not just a Black thing. You know what I mean? Some people wanted me to make it that, oh, this happened to you because your kid is Black. And I refused to do that, because I come to realize, because after I come out publicly, people that were reaching out to me from across the state, some of them are white. So this issue is not just an issue that's affecting a Black kid. This is an issue that's affecting all the kids. And this was the system is broken. In my opinion, that the system was broken. Our education system is broken. So how do we go in and how do we start helping those families and how do we help those kids? So people start reaching out to me, and that, the interest part is when I filed uh, the Office of Civil Rights, when I filed the claim, people start coming out when they saw my story publicly. A lot of parents start coming forward. There were so many people that it was crazy. I believe this organization that I was working with, I believe they received over 200 complaints, and it was
Wow.
crazy. And so what happened is, all that went to Office of Civil Rights.
Oh.
And then because of my story, I had so much of proof of evidence, including a video of whatever happened to my kid. Those things all went to Office of Civil. They ended up opening what's called the compliance review in the entire district. And then because my son was also charged criminally for allegation he did not commit a crime, the Office of Civil Rights was able to look at that case as well. And that created a whole bunch of change within the entire state of North Dakota juvenile justice system. And so, I mean, because then they had to come, they had to look into what's going on in our city. Burleigh County, which is, Burleigh County and Cass County, we're in Cass County.
Correct.
Those two counties Cass County has more black kids.
Correct.
Burleigh County has more Native American. So when they start looking in the state of North Dakota, they're like, whoa, what's going on? Why is there more black kids getting charged more than white kids? So when you hear the word school to prison pipeline, it was happening right here in North Dakota.
Oh, wow.
And so that created a huge change, a reform in our juvenile justice system. So when I tell you about I have friends and I have enemies,
Yeah, I can see why now.
So when I tell you I have friends and I have enemy, and it was not easy. I had intimidation. I was threatened. I was intimidated. I literally, my attorneys, because I had attorneys with me. I wasn't just fighting this alone. I hired attorneys.
Yeah, you can fight that out.
My attorneys literally offered me my money and said, we'll give you this money. We want you to get out of here for your safety. Because my safety was a jeopardy. They're like, what you did, you have a huge target. You need to get out of the state. They literally offered me back my money to get out of the state. But we come from back home.
Yeah, we don't care.
You come from a tribe that you have it in your blood. It's like, if I'm going to be killed or hurt because of what I did is the truth, I'm not running.
Yeah.
And I refused to run.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, I'm not going to park and run away. Because if I run away, well, guess what's going to happen?
The next person is going
to... The next kid, the next kid, the next kid.
Yeah,
so instead of doing it, I stayed.
Yeah.
And so what I did, I started helping other families, and supporting them and helping them and walking through, using my own personal experience to help other families and be able to help their kids in school and be able to get that services and be able to help them in the community, connecting them with services, with resources, and connecting them with the doctors or whatever I can do. And I just start helping family. And so that really is what lead to the organization, creating of the organization, was from the need. The need is so high. And when you get people who are calling you that you never even met, there were some people I never really met, will reach out to me. I mean, email, phone calls. Just like when I ran for city commission, some of those people who put my yard signs, I never met them. They'll just send me a message like, I know of you, I heard of you, bring your yard sign, here's my address. I never met them. I will go in the yard sign and put the sign. Never met them, don't even know who they look like, you know what I mean? All I can hope for is that that's their address, and not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so many people, I never knew how much support it is in our community. People come around me and supported me. But some of them are fearful because, if you're a white person, you're in a very powerful position, you also have to be careful and keep your reputation. But I had so much support behind closed door from so many people in a position that I feel like I'm going to be okay. Because I know what I did was not wrong. And it was not because I wanted to shame somebody or I wanted to put the school in the... It has nothing to do with just that, how do we work collaboratively and solve this issue? We need to come together and we need to work to help better what's happening.
And then the thing about it too is probably, like I said, I'm proud of you for doing that. I'm glad you did that. Most of the time, it's like you don't know what needs to be changed until there's something needs to be changed.
That's exactly.
You know?
Sometimes something horrible has to happen in
change.
order for change to happen.
So yeah, so in that situation, it's like they continue doing it, but nobody's complaining, and
Yep.
nobody's either have the courage to step up and do it. So that okay, we just gotta continue until somebody was like, no, the buck stopped with me.
Yeah,
And then that's where you came in. So
yeah, and I'm a strong believer. I don't go to church, right? Don't get me wrong. I don't go to church. I don't go to mosque. But you know what I mean? I don't. But I'm a strong believer. I have a very strong belief that things happen to us because God chose us for that to happen. And I seriously believe what happened to my son had to happen for me to witness and for me to speak up. Because there was other kids that these things was happening to, right? But when it happened to my kid, it's like I felt like I wasn't even in my body. You know, the experience was so different. Like the anger was so high that I did not care. My safety didn't matter. Like I was just into this, but I had to also be strategically smart in how I handle it. Everybody asked me, how did you go through that? I was like, I'm not an emotional thinker. That's one thing people don't know about me. I don't think with my emotions. I think with my brain.
You have to.
And then,
that's the only way you can survive.
I know. The entire time, people didn't even know. My closest friends and my family, when I came into the news, everybody was shocked because I did not tell everybody. I went by my day just normal. I went to work. I was doing everything. Everything looked normal. The only people who knew what was going on was my attorneys. I had a couple attorneys, not just one. I hired a couple attorneys, and I had a couple advocates. So I had a team, but nobody knew that I was even doing anything. I just kept going.
And actually, what you keep, like the thing that I feel like in our community, what you keep saying is the part of having like attorneys and lawyers. People don't understand. It's like you battles, you could have all the knowledge of whatever it is that you think you do. But you have to have the right people that could do that part that you can't do until you need it to. Because it's like there's so many things that happen in our community, and then people use, like you said, the race, And that's the first thing we run to, like, because my race, this is the reason why this thing happened. But in reality, yes, that could be partial, but you can't prove that part.
Yes, exactly.
So that could be partial true, but you can't prove the race part. So the thing that you could prove, that's the thing you focus on, and then you have those people speak. You don't even speak. You let them speak on your behalf until they say, okay, you could step in and speak. Then by the time you're gonna be speaking, they already done the things that they need to do. But if you won and then you say, okay, this is happening because that, by the time you wanna get these people, then I'm like, no, I'm not touching that case.
Exactly.
I'm not touching it.
Exactly, and that's what happened is that when this whole happened to me, I had a group of advocates, trust me, community advocates who thinks with their emotions and not their brain. Oh my God, they were coming around and it's like, they did this to you because your kid is black. This is because your kid is black. If your kid was white, this will not happen to them. But I refused to respond to their emotions. I just sat back and I let their emotions out and let them talk, let them say what they say. And I never used the word because my kid is black. Because I know this was happening to more than just. And this has nothing to do with race. So I refused to play the race card. And I think that really worked in my advantage. I even went for a podcast, Maryland. First time they reached out to me, it's like, they would try to manipulate and say, this is happening because your kid is black. Do you really believe this would happen if your kid is white? I was like, you know what? I can tell you our data in our state that school to prison pipeline is happening here in Cass County because more kids of color are getting charged compared to white kids. And that's something I can prove because there's a data to support that. But I'm not going to tell you, they tried and I was like, no. But I can tell you school to prison pipeline is happening with the native and black. And guess what's happening? Right here in Cass County, where we live in a city where the state is about 82% white, like over 82. And so when you talk about most black kids are getting charged more than a white kid in Cass County and in Burleigh County where there's native, that is where you ask yourself, like, what is going on, right? Why? Why is it?
What's happening?
What's happening? And so it's a very interesting, it's experience. I learned a lot through that process. And like I said, I couldn't have done it without my good friends. I could not have done it without the attorneys and stuff. It's just I never really, say anything to anybody publicly what was going on until, the case was completely dismissed and everything was done, and I came out publicly.
And no,
And,
that's the
and
smartest
nobody
thing.
even and nobody even knew, and even my attorneys and stuff, with something like this, right?
Yeah.
Because not only was I successful,
Yep.
winning, because when you file claims like that,
Yep.
you have to make sure allegation you make against somebody, make sure you can prove it.
Yep.
But I had been collecting my evidence
Yep.
for a while because I knew sooner or later I was like, I'm gonna get there.
Yep.
But I was collecting. And the school knew what they were doing was violating my son's right.
Yep.
But because they thought,
We could get
you're
away
a
with
parent,
Yep.
what are you gonna do? I mean, there was a time where, they've been told me, they're like, yeah, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, I
We
could
can,
see it.
and they said that, and I was like, you know what? Okay.
No, I could.
But later on, I proved them that no, what you did was wrong.
Yeah, no.
You know.
Well, like I said, I'm glad. And then obviously with the next month being autism, is it next month?
Yeah.
Yeah,
April.
autism.
Tomorrow actually starts.
Oh yeah, there's.
Tomorrow is April 1st.
Jesus, where is this time going? Like, yeah, so it's Autism Month. Are you doing any events? Is there something that you're planning to, like, do for the month or?
Yeah, so last year, we didn't do anything last year, so what my organization did and what I did as an advocate is I went in front of the city commission and I asked the city of Fargo to light the whole city hall, you know what I mean?
Oh
the
yeah,
city
I remember
building.
that. Yeah, I remember.
They
that.
light the whole building
Yeah,
blue
yeah, I
to
remember that.
honor Autism Awareness
Yeah, I
Month, you
remember
know what I mean? Because this is one of the leading neurological disorder.
Yep.
Some people think it's mental health,
Yeah, I don't.
it's neurological disorder. So it's totally
So two
different
different
things.
things. Yeah.
And so I'm not gonna go into that because
Yeah.
you're the medical professional
Oh, yeah.
to go in there, but I can tell you the differences as a parent who have a child.
Yep.
I can, with, that neurological disorder, is that autism is neurological disorder. And so we are celebrating, this year we're doing an event at the James Carlson Library right off 32nd Avenue.
Okay.
So we have a panel of professionals.
Okay.
And so we're gonna have a panel discussion. And what we wanna do is we wanna raise awareness.
Okay.
Because this neurological disorder of autism is growing, right? It's
Yeah.
growing. If you look at the CDC website, the numbers change, right? And so we wanna make sure that we're creating inclusive community, and we wanna make sure that we're educating people so they are fully aware, because people have different perspective when it comes to autism.
Okay.
People have so much perspective and so many different what they think autism is and stuff like that. And if you see somebody with autism, sometimes you can categorize them in a different way that, you know what I mean, that don't. It's kind of one of those, say, not all shoes fit the same, right? Kind
That's
of like
true,
that
yeah.
comment somewhere there, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we want to create this awareness and education, and I hope people will come.
Is that so?
Especially
it's,
our new
yeah, so
American
it's
community.
open for everybody.
It is. It's
Okay.
open. It's
Okay.
open. It's public. It's open to everybody. Anybody can come. We have a great panel. We were able to find really amazing people
Okay.
that can are going to be part of it and having that discussions. And we just need to be able to have those discussions and educate our community and be able to know that, hey, this is something, you know what I mean? You don't know. You might be working next to somebody who has it.
Mhm.
Because there's
Oh, the stage to it.
there is a different stage to it.
Okay.
So there's that verbal and, there's non-verbal and verbal. So back then, they used to just call it autism Asperger,
Okay.
which are high function people, right? They're
Okay.
high functions.
Okay.
And they're Asperger. The good movie I say you need to watch is called Good Doctor. It's on Hulu. It's amazing.
Okay.
If you don't know about autism, watch it. You will learn so much. And
Is that
so-
a movie or is it a show?
it's a show.
Okay,
not a
because I was
movie.
like,
It's a show.
I was like, I seen a show called Good Doctor.
Yeah, you should watch it. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But you have and he was a brilliant doctor.
Yeah.
But he did have some of those. He has some lagging skills, like maybe the people social skills.
Yeah.
He's lagging.
Oh yeah,
but
I
he's
saw a little bit.
brilliant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everybody even come to him. Like these doctors will ask him for his opinion.
Yeah.
But so there's different categories. So that's so now they don't even call it Asperger and all this anymore. They just call it the spectrum.
Got it.
And so now they just call it the autism spectrum. So it's just like they put it
Under one umbrella.
yeah, because you can have different, some people who have autism, they can have the verbal, non-verbal, and they can be like physically, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some are not. So it's just, it's different.
Okay.
Affect everybody differently, I should say.
Oh, okay.
But that's a topic that a doctor needs to give you in the details. So I'm not gonna give
Yeah,
you.
no,
I'm not gonna go
no.
into that with your audience. So then they're gonna think I'm like,
Becoming a doctor?
I am not a doctor.
No. I'm sure they will understand.
Yeah.